Mr. Childers is one of Fayetteville's oldest black citizens, and he's a pillar of our community. He has lived a lot of our history in this town. There's a comedian I heard once, I can't remember his name, but I loved what he said. Whenever you see a black person who has any gray hair, stop and think that there was a time that that person was not allowed to use a public bathroom. There was a time that that person was not allowed to eat in a restaurant, and show them some grace. I noticed Mr. Childers doesn't have a lot of gray hair, but has some. He's been a member of St. James United Methodist Church since 1948, and he's a patriarch in his family. His daughter is here with him today. He is the head of a family of children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren and nieces and nephews. Another piece that I just want to mention, because we forget, we have shamans among us. Whenever there's someone who has lived life from a perspective that you haven't had an opportunity to see, that person can be a shaman for you, because they have some wisdom that you will never see, you will never know. They look at the same world through different eyes. This is a person that, if you just shift your gaze a little bit, you can see a whole new world. This is a person to consult about everything. And I lay that on Mr. Childress. I encourage you to get to know him. He has lived a lot of Fayetteville's black history, and he's seen firsthand the changes that have occurred to us in terms of civil rights and human rights.
I'm honored to be here, Lindsley Smith from the city of Fayetteville. And I want to take an opportunity to mention, you know, sometimes you could tell what a really remarkable event is. And I think today, through the voices that we've heard, this has become already a really remarkable event. And I'm glad you're here. What makes a remarkable event is that a message is told to us that will stay with us for our life. And each of you speaking today, you have given us that. You have tickled our minds to go further and to think further, not only of what you said, but what's inspirational to the world and to all of us. I was born within a week in Birmingham, Alabama. 4 beautiful young girls being killed at 16th Street Baptist Church. Growing up in that area, in a middle-class white family that was strong on the civil rights movement, and going through that. There are messages around the world, and there are messages in Fayetteville. And thank you, Edith, for making the point that some are not, most are not recorded, and it's important that we share that information. You also mentioned 15th Street Baptist Church and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Reminded me of, and I wish Mayor Lioneld Jordan could be here today, when he was an alderman before he became vice mayor. He represented Ward 4, but working with the community, he brought forth the legislation to turn 15th Street to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It was important to him, as it was important to many in our community, to not have a hidden road for that, but to make it a primary artery. Amen. in Fayetteville, not an artery that breathes the blood of life into our community, one that is a gateway to the flagship university of the state of Arkansas, and one that was not fully developed at the time, but had potential, and knowing that growth was coming to that area, to make that Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, to call it Boulevard and not just street, to give wording, as he had said, to make it as much as possible. He wanted me to also share that he wanted to thank the city of Fayetteville, the city of Fayetteville thanking Compassion Fayetteville and all of the organizing partners for organizing this press conference, also the month of compassion and the Black History Month. And the Fayetteville Forward Inclusion Group and its Compassion Fayetteville as he said, and he gave me this wording, he says, "They have taught me much about inclusivity and has assisted in charting paths and possibilities for our city and its economic and other developments within our city." I agree. Now I'll present from the City of Fayetteville the proclamation. Whereas Black History Month is a remembrance of events in the history of African Americans and educating about African Americans' cultural backgrounds and many notable achievements. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once proclaimed, "We are made by history." And in the spirit, we realize we are made by history. And the awareness of this history provides us with an important story in our nation's historic and cultural fabric, a story that includes resolute courage against formidable odds. And whereas from the struggles of the civil rights movement to the injustices and horrors of slavery and the Jim Crow era, from inventions and artistic trends to providing a significant contribution to the building of our nation's infrastructure, each moment in Black history has shaped the face of modern America. And whereas the City of Fayetteville thanks Compassion Fayetteville and its coordinating partners for organizing Fayetteville's first citywide Black History Month, the theme for this month-long celebration is honoring the unique history of African Americans in Fayetteville. And whereas Fayetteville, like Arkansas, has been and is blessed with individuals who have made their mark nationally and worldwide. But we recognize also that notable marks are made despite whether a name is on a list or in a book. This is particularly important to note with African American history because too much of it has gone unrecognized, uncelebrated, unwritten, and unrecorded, giving rise to the great importance of Black History Month in our city of learning, innovation, and compassion. May we tell and endeavor to continue telling these important stories. And whereas Fayetteville High School was the first high school in Arkansas and the first in America's old Confederacy to announce and continually follow through with its decision to integrate after the Brown versus Board of Education decision. While violence erupted in much of the South over integration, Fayetteville faced the issue and resolved it, not with violence, but with benevolence and commitment to the United States Constitution. Peggy Taylor Lewis and Preston Lackey were the first African American students to graduate from the integrated high school, and the first integrated class of Fayetteville High School graduated on June 1st, 1956. And whereas the City of Fayetteville encourages all in Fayetteville to discover, appreciate, and commemorate the history of African Americans in Fayetteville during and beyond the month of February. Now, therefore, I, Lionel Jordan, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2015 as Black History Month.